We're going to tie a knot in the end of our thread. Cross your needle and thread right where you want your knot to be. Wrap it about 3 times and slide your knot to the end of your thread. And there you have a knot. I'm going to applique using red thread, but I just wanted to show you that if I was normally going to do this, I would match that thread as close as I could to whatever I'm sewing. They're not exactly perfect, but they aren't going to be very noticeable at all. I like putting all my thread on bobbins. These I actually purchased, but you can buy these rings separately, and then I just wind them on regular bobbins that I buy in the store. And I buy cheap ones, and then I paint them one side with fingernail polish so I know not to put them in my machine. I'm always just ready for on-the-go projects or whatever. Sorry, my threads are kind of a mess, but I use these every day. If all you have is a plastic bag to put them in, you can put a little ponytail wrapper around your thread and it'll keep it from unwinding. Alright, we're going to turn under this raw edge to make it smooth. And this is called needle turn. We're going to turn this under, and we're going to start from the back. And go down directly across from where we came up. Go ahead about 1/8 of an inch. Come up, go directly down beside it. Come up, turn this back to your basting. This guarantees that you're going to have a consistent edge because it's all going to be the same. If you basted everything consistently, then your turn under will be the same. Always go down right beside where you came up. As you can see today, I'm using red thread for demonstration purposes. When you do this, don't use red thread unless your petal's red. Try to find a color that pretty much matches what you're going to be sewing, so it kind of like disappears. When you take your stitch, only come in maybe 1 or 2 threads, just very little, and grab it. Hide your thread behind, come up again, go down right beside where you were before, and just keep going. We're going to stop when we're about 1/4 of an inch from the end, and that's just about where your basting stitches stop also when it makes your curve. When we get about 1/4 of an inch away, we're going to take a double stitch right here. We're going to turn it, and then I am going to just kind of turn this under flat like this, so I have a point. Now if you want, you can go straight down and come back up again. It's up to you how you make your corner. We're going to go again to the end. Now I want you to pay close attention to this. It's very, very easy to get this corner tucked into your stitches. And the last thing you want to do is have to rip it apart. So always make sure your corner is out of the way. we'll just go on to the end here and tie it off. Make sure you don't get knots in it. If you do, take them out. Otherwise, it might make your fabric run. And it also makes it a lot harder to sew. So I'm just going to kind of take that apart and smooth it out a little bit. Knots happen and they're frustrating, but a lot of times they're pretty easy to get out. Sometimes you have to put your needle in a loop or something and pull on it, but usually the knots aren't too bad. But don't try pulling it through, because it'll tear your fabric, make it run or whatever. It just doesn't work well. Keep turning under right up to your basting line. Fold the seam allowance back on your next row of petals so that you can get underneath it to hide your knot where you tie it off. Get this out of the way. Always do your outside row first, because you need to have a finished edge where your other ones start. I'll show you in just a second. Okay, let me get this out of here. That was just a basting thread. Alright, then I'm going to poke it through, and aha, my corner didn't get sewn in. And then I'm just going to take a couple little tiny stitches here and go through the loop. Maybe even twice. And I'm going to clip it. And now we'll go back to the front, and I'll take this knot that we put on the top. If by putting it on the top it doesn't get hidden on the back and you have to figure out which one you're going to pull, you always know it's the one on the top. Put your thumb on the corner and just pull and remove your basting thread. Now, after you get two of these sewn, two of these appliqued, then you can go on to do the next one, because you're going to have to go over these edges that are already sewn, and you don't want to have to stop and start over. On this one, since we have the curved edge here, if you haven't already done so, clip it, just maybe 2 or 3 threads, just a couple of times. That will make it a lot easier to turn this later when we do it. On this one, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to turn it under here, put our knot on the back, sew up to the end of it. And if you have these curves basted right, when you turn it under, you're going to have your curve on the outside. You probably can't see that very well, but I think you can understand what I'm saying. As you go here, since you've clipped it, you turn it back to here, and then you'll be able to go on. The first row of petals on the inside, we want to go this far and stop. The reason we're using just a partial seam here is because we don't want to sew on past this one here because it isn't finished yet. So we're going to stop. Then we're going to move clockwise to the next blue one. Again, use the thread that will match it very closely. And this one you can go ahead and sew clear to the end, because this will be finished. Then do the next one clockwise and the next one, and keep going until you get back to the beginning. When you get back to the beginning, this will be sewed to here. You can finish this one and then finish your partial seam. Then you go on to the last circle. This should already be basted by that time, and then you will finish up the circle. That way all of these seams will be turned under by that time.